Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Creative Metaphysical Store, where we help co-create your reality. Today, we are going to be talking about the fundamentals of the tarot deck, the major and minor arcana. Let me also, this is bothering me. I'm going to turn this light off and see if this works. So, let me just turn the screen around and I keep forgetting at night that it's different during the day rather than at night. So I do apologize for the little switcheroo. Uh, so I do apologize. And, there's that. Okay, sorry guys about the inconvenience. So, um, we'll start off first with the research that I have done, and we'll then go into my own experience and what I feel like it represents. So, in a lot of cultures, it says here that the major arcana represents life lessons or karmic influences or big archetypal themes. Now, in my own personal experience and understanding, is that each of these represents a point in time in our life um, where we're currently at in our ascension. I do believe that we can be at different stages with different aspects in life. For example, if I'm going to use me an example. So, for example, I most likely will be at either the Fool, the Magician, or the High Priestess energy when it comes to, well, let's say if I was the Fool and I'm just starting out my own business, I would be in the Fool stage. I'm just starting out brand new. And it will take a very long, probably good about, depending on how accepting you are and how fast your growth speed is spiritually, um, you'll be able to reach the um, world card. So there's like different stages for different aspects. So I could be the full card when it comes to money and business career, but I could be in the world card when it comes to love or relationships with people. So there are different, we can be at different stages simultaneously for different aspects in our lives, and that's why we use the major arcana to represent the life lessons or karmic influences or the big archetypal themes. And when it comes down to the different suits in different in the minor arcana deck, um, I believe that each of these different, for example, the wand or the swords, to the cups, to the wands, and then lastly but not least, the energy of the pentacles. I believe these also represent alchemic, are connected to certain alchemical science. For example, pentacles I've always felt was earth energy, whereas wands is air energy, where cups is water energy, but I've always felt like it's like a controversy between the Ace of Wands and the not the Ace of Wands, but that's important apparently. The wand and the swords, I believe, can be very controversial because air and fire are kind of like the same, and so sometimes I kind of gravitate to this being air or this being fire with the sword energy, and the same goes for the wand. So it depends on what I'm feeling. I tend to usually gravitate wands as fire energy because when you light a torch, it looks like a wand but with flames on the end. Whereas the sword could represent air energy, energy of the soul. But these different suits in the minor arcana, according to my research, represent mundane aspects to the major. So it basically gives you a detailed explanation, if you will, of why you're experiencing this, and all that in the bag of chips. So you're basically understanding from, in this case, if you were to use it like to understand aspects of the self, as far as why I'm experiencing this situation. I have some spreads that I will be explaining and giving detail of. For example, um, with you could do a card shuffle with the just only the major arcana deck, and say for example you wanted to know where you're at in far as business and career. So let's just use I'll use me an as I'll use me an example. And um what aspect am I in as far as business and entrepreneurship? And you're just gonna shuffle the cards until you feel like it's time to stop. And I just usually feel the card. This one, got it. Cool, cool, cool. So I'm using me as an example. So in this example, if for my business and entrepreneurship, I got the Justice card, and this is the major arcana, and this, as it says here, it represents a life lesson or a karmic influence or an archetypal theme. In this case, I feel it is karmic, but also um, they're showing me, like, if you look closely, it shows a person with four keys, a crown, two swords, and there's like an arm sticking out of his hand and putting down a fish and what looks like a dead lizard. So there's two people behind. There's one person, and there's obviously another person in the robes. And if you look closely, it's almost as if the one hand that's putting down the fish is representing the higher self, whereas the physical body's got these two swords ready, and it's ready to cut up what needs to be cut up. It's ready to sentence what needs to be sentenced. And in this case, I'm getting that this represents what I'm basically karmically cutting the cords to certain karmic influences, and learning life lessons. So I feel like that's what it represents as far as my business and career life, entrepreneurship wise. That's what this represents. But then, if I say, for example, I wanted to know what this represented on a emotional aspect, I would use the uh, the suite with the cups in it, and I take those out and I do this and whatever feels right. So, for example, let's ask uh, the emotional influence. What does this represent with the Ace of Cups? What does the Justice represent in the Ace of Cups? And I just tend to feel the card. No. This one, got it. Okay. And in this case, we have the Knight of Cups for the emotional aspect or emotional influence to the Justice card. So in this case, we're asking uh, the business what current theme for the business and entrepreneurship career aspect, and then we ask for deeper guidance, but on the emotional level. And I got the Knight of Cups. So what you would do here is you'd have a card representing the major arcana of whatever comes through. I tend to usually feel the energy and what feels right intuitively. You can shuffle until one card pops out, or where you feel drawn to stop, and then pull the card that's on top, or the card that's on the bottom. However you feel like doing pulling the card. Doesn't matter how you feel, how you do it. It's what you feel that's important. Using your intuition. And in this case, if you wanted to use just the major arcana to focus on, well, what okay, where am I at currently in life, what life lessons, and it's important to ask the major arcana what aspects in life, because that way you don't want to just have a generalized broad. You want to be specific as possible, because it will give you the best insight to that certain aspect instead of just asking, oh, where am I at energetically, in my life, and what and then you don't want that. You want to be as specific as possible, like where am I at specifically with business and career in my life. And that's why I was that's being specific. It's allowing it to understand, okay, we're focusing on this aspect. So that's why, and you want to do it to where you have one card here. You have the cup, one of the cups, swords, and wands, and then the pentacles. Like, it doesn't matter which order you pull the minor suits in, but it is important that you put the top major arcana at the top, and then you put the minor arcana like so underneath it. And so, for example, let's just continue so I can give you a generalized idea. In this case, one of the cards flew out, which feeling it like this. Okay. What does this please represent? What does my soul aspect? What does this word represent? My business. This one, or this one, this getting this one or this one. Just need one card. Put this one back on the deck and use this one. Or hold on. This is the one I put down, and this one is the one I put back in the deck. Got it. Understood. And then, okay, we'll do the last one, which is the Pentacles. Connection to the Justice card that is representing my business, career, um, and finance. businesses and entrepreneurship. What do the pentacles represent for the justice card? What what energy is surrounding the justice card when it comes to the pentacles? So, for example, um, we have the justice card. So I'm gonna basically read it like so. So we have the justice card representing business and career, and this is just an example, guys, to show you some different card spreads, and then you basically have underneath the major arcana deck the four different suits lined up side by side, whatever order you put it in, and then you have those four cards underneath the major arcana card that came through. And in this case, I did it in the order of the cups, the wands, the swords, and the physical pentacles. So in this case, the energy of the Justice card for business and entrepreneurship would be taking, you know, action. It could be to the energy of like, okay, I'm cutting what needs to come out. I'm justifying, not justifying, but more like looking and judging with. I'm feeling like it's more of a cutting cords energy, removing certain things, learning it's a like a karmic influence of sorts. But the Knight of Cups to me represents someone who has gone through, uh, gone into it. If I'm getting the word emotional maturity, but there's still some ways to go in order to be able to become the king I'm getting. So there's still some lessons that need to be learned in order to fully mature. And the excuse me, in this case, the 9 of Wands to me really represents the mind, the fire, the mental energy. And it's actually interesting because I'm very hopeful, but I'm at the same time struggling with seeing the hope at the end of the tunnel. And this is actually really represents a lot of my mind. So I'm surprised that it's like that. Um, and and then, for example, we got the Ace of Swords. So this represents my soul ready and willing to cut things that no longer serve me. And I feel like that's positive energy, like cutting the cords, cutting the yuck out of my life, and really balancing them, balancing the material and the spiritual wealth and riches. So that's what I'm getting is that in this case, it represents. Um, yeah, I'm gonna keep these aside and basically put those there. What I am gonna do is if I can find my pen, oh there it is. I'll show you a description of what exactly the spread looks like. So in this case, if you can see it, the spread will look like this, where it's got the four cards of the minor arcana, and then the first card at the top, that the major arcana. And you want to be specific when it comes to talking with the major arcana. These represent, like I said, life lessons, comic influences, big archetypal themes. And back in the day, they used this as a divination tool, even in early Christianity. And people don't realize that. Like, people don't realize that the Christian, Catholic, Judaism, Jehovah, those are really new, actually, very, very new. Um, to what was actually in the old traditions of what we call Christianity, Catholicism, Judaism. It was more so of a mystical school of understanding one's connection to the source and what we now call God, the creator. So we were basically developing, it was a very enlightenment type of school setting. Not the school as in like we were in a classroom and they taught us the fundamentals of X, Y, and Z. No, this is where basically people gathered and who came together as one to learn together as one in order to reach a certain level or and attain a knowledge or an enlightenment in that sense. And where they use this to basically question and ask, hey, why is this happening in my life right now? Um, I personally feel like it's a big hassle to pull all the major arcana decks and all the minor arcana decks and shuffling them neatly into piles. So I would always suggest to make sure that if you do want to use the spread, because it is such a hassle, make sure that you have a deck that you really want to just separate the minor arcana decks and their suits and minor suits and leave them separate and just have them in like a nice little box where they can be separate. And there is another spread where you could do, and it looks like the Celtic cross. One of the earliest forms of the cross was the Egyptian hieroglyph of the Ankh symbol, which they later changed it to, the miniature plus sign. They even used the anchor symbol as a way to show the cross, so that way they would be basically undercover. They wouldn't have to. Basically, they hid their faith under what looked like the anchor symbol. There has been what's also been referenced as the soul of cross, sometimes referenced as, if you guys can see, as an alchemical symbol of earth or subconscious. There have been many, many forms of this over the years. So, uh, for example, they even did it like this, where it's got the cross, but it's sideways. So it looks like so. So that's cross too. So basically, in this spread, it represents the two cards that you place in the middle. Put one, two, uh, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So in this case, 12. So in this case, the first card represents your subconscious, and it's going to look like this. Okay? So the first card represents your subconscious block, and then the second card represents the subconscious block. Or it could just represent the mental state of your subconscious and consciousness. And then you're gonna do the cards for the south node, the south cardinal point. You could do it like the third card for the south, the fourth card in the east, the fifth card in the north, and sixth card in the west. And traditionally, the south represents the past, while the north represents the future, while the east represents the intermediate, what is very close to happening in the future, and the west represents the door that is closing, and then these represent the steps of what you need to take in order to. And for example, if you wanted to ask a question, so say like, what is stopping me from having love? And you shuffle the deck. You look at the subconscious and conscious action, what happened in the past that has stopped you from having love, and what you can do in what you should expect in the intermediate future. and fit the future and what you can work on and what is closing right now. You can then basically the cards 7 through 10 represent what you're ascending into, or what you're going into, and or how you can get there type energy. And then the if you look closely, I put you don't this is not necessary because these are not usually in the card spread, but there is like the 11th and 12th card, which I incorporate that because it represents the masculine and feminine aspect to the situation. You don't have to use 12 cards. I just use 12 cards, but it technically is just 10 cards total, which is the subconscious, the cardinal points. And you can use this spread, which is basically the same 4 cardinal points, like so. But if you wanted to get more of a timeline for the thing you question or ask for as far as time, you would basically have, for example, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and this would represent the energy where what you're seeking or what you're asking about in the first the center of the the cardinal point, and then you go from the south all from this to the southeast, and vice versa, all the way around into the energy to the southwest. And if you want to look into the past, you'd want to go counterclockwise. But if you wanted to go into the future, you do one, and then the second card would be in the south to the energy of the northwest, southwest, um, west, northwest, north, and vice in the clockwise. Or what you can do instead is if you use the first card in the center, and you could just start with the north energy or the northwest energy. So I would suggest just north. So going from north to east all the way to northwest if you want to do it that way instead. Um, that's where I use this spread to do a lot more timeline area, because then you're not leaping too far. You're getting like kind of like sets of scenes. So, and think of it this way, where if on a timeline I'm here, looking here, and I'm going looking far into the future. And in this case, what this spread does is let you see not only so one half and then the full. So basically, you're able to utilize the spread to not have. So in the other deck, I mean other spread, you would just look into the far future. But you in this spread, you could do one and then a half, so you'd see a much clearer image and perspective to the full picture. Does that make sense? Um, so I hope that was helpful. That those spreads might be helpful to some of you guys. I really do. I really, really do. But I am gonna cut this live off and turn in for the night. And where did I? Oh, there it is. Okay. And I will see you guys tomorrow. Well, actually, I won't be here tomorrow because I got a reading with Friday Gledhart on Friday tomorrow. So I won't be here, unfortunately. But if I do wake up in the morning, or I wake up and then I go to my reading and it's early, and I'll come back if I have time, I will come back online, and I will be talking about some quick, easy herbal remedies, that, as well as talking a little bit about the reading from the pages. I know I've been talking about this for a while, so tomorrow I decided to do some herbal remedies that I found very useful for the immune system, and I'll also be talking like from one of these pamphlets. I don't know But this one is Dr. Budwig's Cancer Protocol, the most successful anti-cancer diet in the world. A life-saving fats and proteins. You could do, if you want to have me read this one, say first, uh, say number one, the uh, first document, or one doc or 1D. Um, and then the second document would be, if you want me to read from this one, it would be the ACA handbook, and this is Canadian Amazing Ojibwe Herbal Remedy for Cancer, Chronic Fatigue, Lupus, AIDS, and other illnesses, and ECA is a cure for cancer, period. And this was approved by Dr. Charles Brush, MD, JFK's personal physician. So if you want me to read that tomorrow, I will. I might only be able to do half, depending on how much I want to get done, and that will be for the second document that you would want me to read. And last but not least, we have the third document, which is how to cure almost any cancer at home for $5.50 a day, by Bill Henderson and Andrew Skolberg. And this says cancer survivor Paula will live to see her grandson grow up. And that's what this third document is. All these are basically pretty much going to back each other up, but these are what I got from actual tribal person who lived on the Ojibwe, on tribal land for a year, and he moved over here. He lives around here, and he's the one who actually was sharing this knowledge with me. So I do trust him because he got this while he was on the tribal land for a year. So that being said, I hope this was helpful, and if you just feel free to comment with the first document for Dr. Budwig, the second, or you could say Dr. Budwig for the first document, or JFK for the second document, or you can say Bill Henderson or BH or Bill H for the third document. And I'll take a look tomorrow and see all the comments and see who commented, and I'll go off that on which one to read. So I will also be sharing my herbal remedies and what I do to stay healthy, and what techniques I have learned to really keep myself in a very high vibrational state, so on and so forth. Without further ado, much love. Thank you and God bless. Have a blessed day.